when cynicism and criticism came in his direction, Ryan Clark, somebody who runs from no one, and I'm certainly not accusing him of running now, I'm mad he deleted the post. Personally speaking, I'd like to say that I'm disappointed, but that's not the word. I'm pissed off.
Stephen A. Smith goes off on Ryan Clark for deleting his post about black quarterbacks. Check out what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
I got a lot of stuff that I want to get into today. And one of those things was my buddy, my colleague at ESPN, my brother, Ryan Clark, outstanding NFL analyst for the family, an outstanding host for the podcast, The Pivot, not to mention doing his Inside the NFL show with Bill Belichick, Chad Ochocinco, and those guys. He's a Super Bowl champion as a safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know what his background entails, but he made a lot of noise this weekend. And to be quite honest with you, I was upset about something, and I want to explain what I'm upset about after I play you this clip. This is Ryan Clark talking about Lamar Jackson and how essentially his success is going to be the finishing touch for the whole narrative about black quarterbacks and the question marks and the skepticism that have been associated with black quarterback throughout NFL history.
Lamar Jackson, future Hall of Famer, definitely one of those quarterbacks that's going to be remembered for years to come. So I'm interested to see what Stephen A. Smith take is with Ryan Clark with his comments.
Not recent history, but certainly in the past. Ryan Clark was speaking on First Take, sitting in my chair because I was on vacation on Friday, across from L. Duncan, across from Monica McNutt, who was hosting in place of Molly Qerim, and of course, across from the one and only Cam Newton, the former Heisman Trophy winner and #1 overall pick for an NFL quarterback. Nevertheless, Ryan Clark said some things that rubbed people the wrong way. Before I commented on it, I want you to hear what he had to say. Listen up.
I want to say it to you, and I want to say it to Randall Cunningham, and I want to say it to Russell Wilson, and I want to say it to Michael Vick. This is the evolution of the position. Yeah. Without Randall Cunningham having to try to conform and be a pocket passer and also show his athleticism, we don't get to Michael Vick. And without Michael Vick accepting that and working to become a better passer, working to become a better leader, we don't get a Cam Newton. And if Cam Newton doesn't bring the style of play that he had the opportunity to bring from Auburn to the NFL and win an MVP doing it, we don't have a Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
See, we've needed at that position, because of all the negativity surrounding whether or not people like you can play it, we needed each of you to get to this point.
Yes.
And that's why we need Lamar Jackson to take that next step and hold that Lombardi trophy the same way we all cried when Doug Williams did it in the 80s.
Yes, preach.
Now, before Stephen A. Smith goes, let me just kind of chime in on the comments about Lamar Jackson. In my opinion, what Ryan Clark is saying, if Lamar Jackson can win that Super Bowl, that's going to put all the noise to rest as far as the black quarterbacks over the years, especially like in the 70s and 80s, had a couple notable quarterbacks. But in recent memory, you got Michael Vick. He definitely was a trailblazer as far as the black quarterbacks running, passing the ball, being able to know the plays. So I hear what he's saying, but let's hear what Stephen A. Smith has to say about the Ryan Clark comments about Lamar Jackson.
You heard Ryan Clark right there. Personally speaking, I'd like to say that I'm disappointed, but that's not the word. I'm pissed off. But I'm not pissed off at Ryan. I'm not pissed off at all of you guys. Nor am I pissed off at Ryan Clark for what he said. You know what I have a problem with? That he deleted the post.
Ryan, you got to stand on business. It's one thing you put those statements out there, but to delete the tweet or whatever you deleted pertaining to this, it wasn't a good look for Ryan Clark. He's known as the guy at ESPN that's going to stand on business. You weren't standing on business after those comments.
Because when cynicism and criticism came in his direction, Ryan Clark, somebody who runs from no one, and I'm certainly not accusing him of running now, I'm mad he deleted the post. Now, I know what a lot of people were saying. First of all, Ryan Clark didn't know what he was talking about because guess what? Patrick Mahomes is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's the reigning 2-time Super Bowl champion, having won back-to-back titles for the Kansas City Chiefs here. He's a black quarterback, and you're bringing that up. That's really slick on your part. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Clark wasn't wrong. Ryan Clark was right. Now, he may have come across wrong because he gave you an opening to bring up Patrick Mahomes to derail or to squash his point. But that's not the point that I interpreted him saying. What he's talking about, what he was talking about, is not the black quarterback, but the black quarterbacks who have been questioned as to whether or not they should play quarterback. Nobody was questioning whether Deshaun Watson was a quarterback. Nobody was questioning whether Patrick Mahomes was a quarterback. They were questioning whether Lamar Jackson was a quarterback.
Lamar Jackson, he put all that to rest, though. Think about what he's done. 2 MVPs, could possibly win a third one this year. So just as far as expectations on Lamar Jackson's part, he did what he had to do. But of course, winning that Super Bowl, that's going to take him to the next level.
They were wondering whether he should consider a different position going into the NFL. And it was Lamar Jackson that had to tell them, nah, I ain't down with that. I'm a quarterback, and I'm going to be a quarterback in the NFL, and I'm going to wreak havoc, and I'm going to wreck shop, and I'm going to show you what I bring to the table. That's what Lamar Jackson said. But they were trying to convince him not to play quarterback. And that specter of skepticism and criticism that came associated with Lamar Jackson before he was drafted number 32 overall in the first round, at the end of the first round, by the Baltimore Ravens is something that has happened only to black quarterbacks.
Now, as far as Lamar Jackson not playing quarterback, people persuading him to change positions, it would have been one of the worst moves in NFL history. If Lamar Jackson was a running back, was a wide receiver, he had to be a quarterback, and ultimately was a great move for him, not listening to the outside noise and working on his game. We've seen Lamar Jackson turn up a lot since his rookie season. Didn't really follow him collegiately, but he had some good games in college, and for people to say that he's not a quarterback and he should change his position. I don't know who told Lamar Jackson that he shouldn't play quarterback, but that person or people shouldn't be in the NFL front office.
Where's the white dude? And if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. But I don't recall a white dude coming into the NFL, having played the quarterback position in college, and they were being dissuaded from entering as a quarterback because people were accusing them of not being able to play the position. Don't get us started with why they were saying that, because usually when you have questions about a quarterback, it's about their ability to throw, or it's their ability to be a dual threat at the running back position. With black folks, back in the day, albeit back in the day, there was a question about intellect.
Yeah, that's what I heard growing up. If you were a black quarterback, they looked at you sideways like, are you sure you know how to read plays, remember all the plays and all that stuff? So black quarterbacks definitely had a bad rap back in the day, just based off front offices and the media. But there were a lot of solid black quarterbacks back in the day. Shout out to Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, Dante Culpepper, McNabb. So there were some trailblazers before you got to Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
And the ability to comprehend and decipher an NFL defense and read through your progressions and make the right call and make the right throw. Audible at the line of scrimmage, understanding and comprehending and dissecting the playbook, et cetera, et cetera. These are the things that were thrown into questions about black quarterbacks. And so anytime there's a black quarterback that was being questioned as to whether or not they should play the position, that was the first thing that came to people's mind, because that's the level of skepticism that historically has been associated with the black quarterback until recently. Nobody's accusing it of being that way now, because times have changed and things have drastically improved. You can go back to Randall Cunningham. You can go to the Warren Moons of the world. You can go to the Dante Culpeppers or the Steve McNairs of the world. You can go to the Michael Vicks of the world. You can come to the modern day era, because there was a time in the NFL in recent memory where you had guys like a Russell Wilson to a Deshaun Watson to a Patrick Mahomes who were the highest paid dudes in the league. So not only were they playing the quarterback position, but they were getting paid handsomely to do it. That is not what Ryan Clark was talking about in terms of what I saw him say on First Take, my day job, every weekday morning on ESPN from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This past Friday when he was filling in for me, who was on vacation. That man talking about Lamar Jackson was simply saying he's a dual threat. His athletic ability is undeniable. His running ability is undeniable. His passing game has improved. He's done everything right. And now what anybody and everybody is waiting for is for him to deliver the goods, because Josh Allen, to a lesser degree, Joe Burrow to a lesser degree, but Patrick Mahomes to the nth degree is standing in his way in just his conference alone.
It's going to be tough for Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl. You got Patrick Mahomes in his prime. You got a Joe Burrow. You got the Detroit Lions. So you got a bunch of elite players, elite teams that are in Baltimore's way, in Lamar Jackson's way to win that Super Bowl. So it's going to be tough for him, but I'm rooting for him. That's the only thing that's missing on his resume. So if Lamar Jackson can get that Super Bowl, he's going to shut up a lot of haters.
We didn't even get into the Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, the Jared Goffs in Detroit, or the Jordan Loves in Green Bay, or even a Sam Darnold in Minnesota. Brock Purdy last year. Dak Prescott, just because he's a Cowboy, even though they're a home. Unofficially, of course, I mean, officially they're going home, but we know they won't be in the playoffs.
It's a wrap for him.
Everywhere you turn, there were guys. And so you're looking at Lamar Jackson, and you're saying, you're two-time league MVP, bro. 9 dudes have won two league MVPs in NFL history. Every single one of them have been Super Bowl champions, but you.
So if Lamar Jackson doesn't win that Super Bowl after being a multiple-time MVP, setting rushing records as a quarterback, passing yards, touchdowns, all that great stuff, if he's not able to win that Super Bowl before his career is over, it's going to be a disappointment more for him, but just overall landscape-wise, black quarterbacks and all that stuff, it would be great if he won. We've had black quarterbacks win before in recent memory, the Russell Wilsons, the Patrick Mahomes. So there's black quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowls. But for Lamar Jackson, man, you got to bring it on home. You got to win that Super Bowl as soon as possible.
So you got to answer that call. I've bloviated about that on numerous occasions, but in the event that he does answer the call, Ryan Clark is right. That should be it. In terms of seeing a dual threat at the quarterback position with extreme athleticism being questioned as to whether or not they could play the quarterback position. What's the problem? I see no problem. So I'm pretty ticked off that Ryan Clark deleted his tweet, according to the reports. Because what you take it down for? You were right. His point may not have been articulated as perfectly as he would have liked. And he might have left a hole here or there for somebody to at least question it. But his overall point, I firmly understand.
Again, Ryan Clark made a great point, but to delete the tweet, delete the post, why aren't you standing on business, bro? That's what you preach. Being a stand-up person, stand up for what you believe in. If that's what you feel about Lamar Jackson being slept on, winning a Super Bowl, whatever he was trying to say, stand on it, Ryan Clark.
And he was right. If Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl, that's going to go a long way towards us ever questioning again, whether a cat can do it at that position, being a dual threat, a quarterback who can run. We're marveling at Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders because of what he's doing.
He's dope. Very good quarterback.
Ryan Clark is right. We want to rave about Sam Darnold, and we should. But I will remind y'all that Sam Darnold, who has led the Minnesota Vikings to a 14-2 record this year, who's had 13 games with a QBR over 100 this year, who has been absolutely sensational for the most part for the Minnesota Vikings. That's Sam Darnold. I got to give credit where credit is due. That brother right there, 14 wins, 13 games with a passer rating, a QBR of over 100. His 14 wins are the most by a quarterback with a new team over the last 40 years.
Donald's
Peyton Manning
elite.
won 13 in 2012. Steve McNair won 13 in 2006 with the Ravens. By the way, Sam Darnold's been the most productive deep ball thrower in the National Football League this year.
Elite.
20 or more air yards. That's what they said. And he's playing under a contract that's paying him $10 million for 1 year.
Oh, he about to get that bag.
That same Sam Darnold, before you go out there throwing a parade for the brother, like it seemed the Minnesota Vikings were willing to do in the post-game locker room following Sunday's victory over the Green Bay Packers, acting like they just won a championship.
They was turned up.
I will remind y'all, as much as Sam Darnold deserves praise for the great year that he's had, it was 6 years that preceded it when he didn't.
Shout out to Sam Darnold. Definitely one of the biggest comebacks in NFL history. Got his game to the next level. Looks like he found a great home in Minnesota. Unfortunately, it's going to be short-lived just because you got JJ, the rookie quarterback, got injured, missed the whole season. So don't know where Sam Darnold's going to go after this season, but he's definitely going to get that bag. A lot of money coming his way in the offseason.
So while we're sitting there talking about him and praising him and what have you, isn't it ironic that we're praising a dude who's produced really for the first time in his career that spans more than 6 years? But a two-time league MVP, we're constantly saying that ain't enough. You got to do it.
You got to think with the expectations of Sam Darnold. There is none. With a Lamar Jackson, he has to win. That's just the expectations. He's a much better player than Sam Darnold historically, even though Sam Darnold maybe playing just as good or better than Lamar Jackson this season. Of course, the 6 or 7 years prior to that, he hasn't been good. But just as far as everyone's partying up for Sam Darnold having a great season, again, there's no expectations for Sam Darnold. He's just made to be a backup quarterback, maybe a starter here and there. So, of course, no one's going to go in detail about Sam Darnold, the years that he was playing terrible and now he's having a great year. Of course, everyone's going to be happy and throwing a celebration for him. But with Lamar Jackson, again, expectations to win it all, expectations to lead your team to the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl every season. That's just what it is with Lamar Jackson. But shout out to Stephen A. I hear what he's saying. Shout out to Ryan Clark. Again, Ryan, stand on business. If you got something to say, keep that tweet up. You ain't got to delete it, especially for something like this. This is harmless as far as talking about Lamar Jackson and winning a Super Bowl and what it can do for the black quarterbacks. But it is what it is, man. Appreciate y'all watching. Happy New Year. And let's run those numbers up.